My lady woke up crying this morning like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get up and put your pants on same time every day after a night like that and go and crack that mic and talk about that. I don't know what.
Well, no, we're way better off. Feel bad for us. Feel bad for my wife. My wife, who's miserable, and we talk about this more, that I think women are taking this even harder than men. She has to just go talk sports now. She's not allowed to talk politics. I thought at least it's cathartic. Right. We get to crack the mic and live this out. She has to say, they sent her a topic last night. It was like, just to be like fun. It's like, what athletes would you put in Trump's cabinet? She's like, I can't even think about Trump's cabinet. I can't make a joke about it. I can't talk about sports. So at least we're blessed with that. But Ebro, I wanted to bring in a guest, a guy who's been a major part of the social justice movement of Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. I read him every day in the Daily News, writing incredible stuff. Shaun King, former quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No, not quite.
Shaun, take us through your feelings right now. We're also trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah. Just like all of you, I'm struggling to find the words. Less than I'm struggling to find the words is that the words I do have are so angry and are so bitter, and I'm so pissed and frustrated that I'm trying to see if I should filter myself and tell the truth, because I do feel like I don't know if going back in time is the right language, but it's a serious setback, and this is not a game. It's not pretend.
The first thing I did, and I told everybody what happened if Trump won, was I laughed. And the reason I laughed, and it pissed Rosenberg off, and I'm sure it pissed a lot of people off, was because we allow, as a collective, ideas to permeate that are divisive and cause people to be apathetic. And it happens on social media, not you specifically, not you, Rosenberg, but all of us. We're the artists that we deal with that come up here and act like everything's all good. The music that we play on Hot 97 that acts like everything's all good. Because that's what people honestly want. The shows that are on, the reality shows, I just want to turn my brain off. Can you guys I just want to turn my brain off. Well, your brain's off. And your president is a bona fide clown.
And a reality star from that same world.
And a reality star from the same world.
Yeah.
So the reason I laugh is because this is what you get.
It's what we get, but it's not just our failure. It's the failure of the Democratic Party to put forth a candidate that would compel people and compete well against Donald Trump. Many of us saw from a million miles away that Hillary would struggle against Donald, and she did.
And talked about it openly.
Yeah, and suffered a lot of wrath for saying so, and now we're living that out. And so the Democratic Party failed. But this is really a victory for white supremacy. And
David Duke already spoke this morning.
Yeah. That he said it was one of the happiest moments of his life. That members of the Klan and neo-Nazis are openly celebrating and seeing this as a win, and they've been open about it. And so I think what we're seeing is that many of us thought incorrectly that racism was a fringe part of America, that white supremacy was on the margins of America. And what we're seeing is that when you put that message into a mainstream filter like Donald Trump attempted to do, it appealed to the worst senses of tens of millions of white folk who put him into office. And so we're not talking about a fringe part of America, but we're talking about mainstream white. Almost all white folk, except for college-educated white women, chose Donald Trump in droves. And that's a problem. So even as I was walking in today, I found myself just looking around and seeing like, yeah, he voted for Trump. He voted for Trump.
And numbers-wise, you know it's true.
Yeah, it has
you just
to be.
know it's true.
Yeah.
White men, and this is what blows my mind. I don't have, I just got a text message from my friend who I thought from my college friends, maybe he's the one. He's from Scranton, Pennsylvania, very white bread guy. I thought maybe Jim was the one who could have voted Trump. And he just wrote up like, my kids are miserable. I don't know what to tell them. They think we're moving to Canada. And I was like, oh, so from my educated world, I don't know a white man who voted for Trump. Every white man I personally know.
Now, do you believe that they're just telling you that?
No.
I don't believe it at all. It's like
because the secret Trump thing is.
Yeah, but see, it's like nobody wants to admit that they eat at McDonald's, and then you look at their profit sheets and they're making billions of dollars.
my point.
Somebody's eating at McDonald's.
Yeah, and someone was voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah,
That's for damn
absolutely.
sure.
We talked about how many people were hiding it. Even I made an example. I walked into a studio the other day, and somebody who I didn't believe voted for Trump. I was like, I made a joke. He had a Trump sticker on a folder, and he put it away. He didn't want to look at me in the face.
I've taken some calls this morning from Puerto Rican men who voted for Trump this morning. There's a lot of Latinos for Trump, especially men.
Yeah.
I believe culturally, sexism and chauvinism runs rampant in many cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
For
right?
sure.
Black, Spanish, white cultures where a woman has her place. And that was, they reinforced that concept. That concept was reinforced.
Up until even if you saw the picture of them in the polls, Donald Trump and Eric Trump were looking over their wives' shoulders at seeing who they were voting for. I mean, like up until the very last minute, they enforced this.
That is a real thing too. Can you imagine that he's looking at Melania like, hold on, the last second is she actually going to vote for Hillary because she knows I'm such a monster when it comes to women? Real quick on the word about Latinos, Trump did better with Latinos than Romney did.
Yeah.
This is a man who started his campaign. The first thing we ever heard about the Trump campaign was that he thought Mexicans were criminals and racist, right? And this is a guy who then ends up getting 31% of the Hispanic
That's
vote in Florida.
Mexicans, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying. That's different than everyone else. No, I get it.
Different Latino.
Of course, but you would still think that there would be fellow Latinos who might be offended by the concept.
When I was
Maybe
young,
not.
when I was young in California, there was a proposition, Prop 187. It was a big deal about immigration. I was young, and I was out campaigning. This was like when I knew more Mexican Americans voted to keep other Mexicans out of America than they did to allow some form of immigration. People get into this country and they're like, I did it the right way.
Right.
Everyone else needs to do it the right way. Wait their turn the right way, the right way. So that language, they know, they've researched Hispanics in America, and they know that generationally, once they're in this country, they're looking back at their country like, no. You got to do it the right way.
Well, I mean, 15% of Hispanics in North Carolina, a state that she needed to win, didn't get. Florida, 31%. Virginia, 15%. Wisconsin, she knew Wisconsin, 10%. And again, Paul Ryan ends up in Wisconsin not unendorsing Trump, which maybe could have had an impact.
But Hillary didn't go to Wisconsin, and she didn't go to Michigan.
I don't understand how that's possible.
Because they thought they had it sold up.
Yeah, I think all of this proves that they didn't really have their finger on the pulse of America, that the Democratic Party is aloof and disconnected.
Elitist.
Yeah, it has become a professional, elitist party, and from the very beginning, they struggled to understand polls that showed them losing. The LA Times poll consistently had them losing for the past 3 months, and instead of actually looking at it and inspecting it, they just criticized the methodology.
And ignored it, right.
And here we are.
Now, real quick, Shaun, obviously you've been so outspoken about social justice issues. And when I was doing broadcasting last night for Complex, I said one of the things that really scares me is think about the racial tension we've had in this country and the unrest we've had. And that the whole time is while we've had President Obama as our president. How much do you think everything changes moving forward? Next time, God forbid, when there's another innocent man killed by police and maybe people take to the street, how much does that affect the people knowing the man in the White House is Donald Trump as opposed to Barack Obama?
They're not taking to the street.
Yeah, well, I guess they're...
And they getting cleaned up real quick. All that 4 or 5 days in the street, y'all think y'all thought it was sweet? Y'all thought it was hardcore militaristic with Obama in office. Wait till you have a president in office that don't give a F about you and is sending them tanks and the National Guard on your ass.
Do you agree with that, Shaun? Do you think we'll see a huge difference in that regard?
Well, particularly, people are saying that Rudy Giuliani could be Attorney General. And
Captain Law and Order.
And so there are two ways of looking at it. One way could be to say, now that President Obama is on his way out and Trump is in, that this could be some type of, theoretically, that this could be some type of release valve, and that white supremacy could now relax and calm down. It's just a theory. And then the other theory would be, what I believe, that it has only empowered and emboldened folk, and that, as we said, it will get worse, that police will crack down, and that this concept, however we need to see it. If it's going back in time, but it's a new America.
You're going to have to prove me wrong. Shawnee,
Yeah.
you gonna have to prove, y'all going to have to prove me wrong. Me and Shawnee was arguing. He was like, you think people won't be back out in the street? Oh, they're going to be out in the street. And they're going to get rolled up. And all those public and all those.
Up.
No, they didn't get rolled up. They didn't get rolled up.
But listen,
y'all ain't seen a real roll up.
Folk are going to be in the streets. I
They're
mean,
gonna be in the
it's going to be in the
streets
streets.
And they're gonna be filling up these jails that have been empty because remember they've been closing jails. They've been closing private jails. There's a lot of jails.
Have been being filled up.
No.
For
They're
a very
gonna
long
fill
time
up.
still.
They're gonna fill up new
Even
ones,
more,
guys.
But people are gonna still get
The
aggressive
argument they're
and
having,
still
by
be
the way,
mad.
let me just clarify for our listeners. Ebro feels that obviously with an Obama presidency, the people who out there are feeling they had a sense of safety when they protested, that they wouldn't be beaten and killed. Whereas now you're saying, Ebro, when people protest under the Trump presidency,
You're
people
gonna have
aren't
a
play
president
around.
that goes up and goes, law and order. You know the rules.
I think we're both correct in the sense that we're going to be in the streets, and I think it's going to be as fierce as we've ever seen in our lifetime.
Exactly.
And Ebro is correct that it's going to be a harsh response.
Yes.
Again, we no longer have a compassionate attorney general, a compassionate president, a compassionate first lady. In any of those levels of protection.
We didn't invest in all this military equipment in small town America to not use it.
Right.
They ready for something. They're ready for something. Listen, I know it's scary, but man, it's so scary that Donald Trump's press picture as he went into this whole thing was him scowling like an evil man in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That's what people wanted as their leader.
Yeah, but that's the point is that he severely out-strategized us. Like, a lot of the things that he thought would work, worked, and they worked well. I mean, I think historically people are going to study this. It's a
Because it was
historic
simple.
moment. Absolutely.
People are angry. I'll be angry too.
Right,
People hate the system. Me too.
right.
People want people who look like me because a majority of the country is white. Let's just the sheer numbers.
Sure.
I'm white and I'm angry. So you know what I'm going to be? White and angry.
Hey, and I'm tired. But let's be real. They are tired of seeing a black face as their president for 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah, that's at the root of
Yes.
it. I mean, I think obviously this is not President Obama's fault. That's a simple way of saying it. But without a President Obama, you never see Donald Trump.
Of course.
8 years ago, he was a smug, gaudy billionaire that we laughed at and joked about. He was just almost exclusively the butt of jokes. And so he only got to this point because he is a response to President Obama.
And I'll tell you, bro, I'm sticking with what I said earlier. I'll take Trump for 4. If that's the trade-off, I think this country is better off with 8 years of President Obama, even if we have to have 4
And to
years of
update
Donald
the
Trump.
audience, many years ago, I said America is not ready for a black president. Even when they voted him in there, I said we're not ready. We're not ready.
Because it wasn't all of America that voted him in.
Right.
And even I looked at the poll numbers from 2012, 66% of white folk voted against him in 2012. So we saw that tide turning even from 2008 to 2012. And so this is the natural progression of the natural response of having him in office.
But how crazy is it? What does it say about how people feel about women that you're talking about states? President Obama carried Pennsylvania. He carried Ohio. Hillary could not follow up and carry the states that Obama carried.
Yeah, we're not talking enough about the role of sexism in this.
We're not.
Even in
Well, Shaun, we have on this program, and I've said many times, most people who are walking into the polls in America, not New York, and we're not talking about the tri-state,
yeah, man.
in America, have not had a woman as a boss.
Most of them haven't.
Most
No
people
way.
walking in to cast a vote
Right.
in America,
Yep.
not the tri-state, have not had a black man as a boss. And so that, where I'm hiring someone for a job, we know what hiring's like in America.
Right.
They don't hire you if your name is too ethnic in some places. Right?
Right. And so, yeah, and that's the point, is to say that when a lot of people, even though she was more qualified, more capable, more experienced, it gets to the root of what you're saying. And I don't think that we have fully examined how that played itself out on the national scene.
We got Joseph on the line in Connecticut. Joseph, you're a Trump supporter and you voted for him. You're Puerto Rican. Yet another Puerto Rican who called
This
this
is an
morning.
epidemic. It's becoming an epidemic. The Puerto Rican Trump
men calling in saying they supported Trump. Joseph.
Yo, what's going on, man?
So you and you said it's not a decision you personally enjoy, but
I think it's a great choice for America, man, because, dude, I'm a middle class man. You know, I don't got the best job, but I don't got the worst job. I work for pharmacy. I'm a pharmacy tech. And for an example that I gave my job, my coworkers yesterday was, most of these guys are like from another country. So I told them, for example, let's say you're a citizen of the United States, and you come to this pharmacy and you come look for a job with your bachelor's as, you know, or your certification as a pharmacy tech or as a pharmacist. Now, they're going to offer you, because it's a private owned company, they're going to offer you a certain type of money that you're going to say, I can't take this job. It's not, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't pay me my qualifications. It's like, I don't know if people go through that, but that's just how it works, you know.
And you're saying that's how you went into the polls thinking.
Excuse me?
And you're saying that's how you went to the polls thinking today or yesterday.
Exactly, because it was like, you know, I like I told them, I said, so you're not, you know, you qualify for the job, but they want to pay you less than what you're supposed to get paid. But then somebody else comes from another country and with some type of certification as a pharmacist and take the jobs for the money that they offering them. So now there's a guy that has a certification that's a citizen of the United States.
And you think Donald Trump is going to protect that situation for you?
Of course, man. Of course, because, like, another example, all this women coming from another countries, they come here to have kids. We got to support them for 30 years, man. You know, they get adapt to the system, and we got to support this people for 30 years. Not only the children. God bless the children. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the children. The children are welcome here. If they're born here, they're Americans. You know what I'm saying?
And you think Donald Trump's going to be able to stop this, even though Barack Obama has deported more people than any president in the history of the United States? You think Donald Trump is going to support that?
I think it'll be stopped, because it's going to have to be some type of control, man. You know, like
Joseph,
we need our jobs here, man. You know what I'm saying? We need our jobs here.
Joseph,
and
Joseph, cheap labor. Remember this. Remember what I'm telling everyone right now. The reason we have mass incarceration, one of the reasons for slavery, one of the reasons for immigrants getting jobs is cheap labor. That is how companies make higher dividends.
Including Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. So the reason
Trump.
they allow those people into the country and the reason they hire those people is because they can hire them for cheap, so the guy at the top makes more money. You're being scammed. And then what happened to all the minimum wage talk? What happens to that now? You guys think the minimum wage is going up? You think companies are going to pay more money per hour? That's what we think is about to happen. When Donald Trump says he wants to keep companies in America, what he is saying is we're going to make it better for them to stay, which means the guys at the top that make the decisions can make more money.
Without being forced to pay other people more money.
Sure. It means fewer regulations, fewer protections. And so even in that call, what you saw was new immigrant versus old immigrant.
That's right.
And that's a very old, that story is as old as America. And so anytime you look at American history, there's always this battle between established immigrants versus new immigrants and folk thinking that they are going to be more protected than somebody else.
But how do you try to make that point when Donald Trump and his family are the main ones that it's proven they've outsourced jobs overseas?
Well, because people are looking for someone to say the right things to make them feel better.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes the truth isn't as fantastic as the lie. You know, I tell y'all all the time, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Never do that. JR, we sound stupid over there in Hudson County.
I mean, you some of you sound extra haterish.
Haterish.
You know,
okay.
I think that it's more likely to have this conversation 6, 7, 8 months down the line after we get the results of his efforts, rather than, because you're dividing the very division that we feel is happening. Is you're almost like promoting it. Hip hop artists, they all come from a place where they struggled. Some of them committed crimes, but they made it out. If you're an immigrant and you came in here illegally and you're establishing yourself and creating a family and putting children into the line of fire, so to speak, illegally, you're setting yourself up for a consequence. That's all I'm saying. If Trump and
you feel like that is happening in droves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if big corporations, not just Trump, is using the system, taxes, and moving overseas, it just spells what's happening in the country as a whole. That's what we've come to have to survive.
Well, and here's the one thing that I'm hearing in most of the calls and people who are calling today, because we used to have Trump Supporter Tuesday, where literally we would allow Trump supporters to call in and try to make their platform, most of the time not having one, right? Not being able to articulate the plans. And there's a couple of themes that I'm hearing. A, most people calling don't really know what Trump's going to do. It's like a wait and see scenario, which tells me we just didn't want that woman.
Yes.
We didn't want somebody who was clearly articulating ideas because A, we didn't believe her.
You mean the qualified woman?
Right? And not only did we not believe her, but we believed all the bad things about her. Right?
Right.
And then I think that's complicated by the fact that it was a her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
100%.
Here's the thing.
I think
We're all
because I think
I don't care how y'all want to slice the
100%.
tomato. We're all conditioned in this country. This country is built on books, Bibles, and religion that do nothing but oppress women. We're all conditioned for that.
Yes.
That is part of our programming. Even our conditioning has been conditioned, as they say.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So you're not as aware of your own deep emotions as you may think that you are. You've been duped. I hate to break it to y'all. You have been duped into having a clown as a leader. We all have. And he's going to be able to appoint Supreme Court justices. The man that was the host of NBC's Apprentice is going to be able to appoint Supreme Court justices. And he has the House and the Senate behind him. We have not seen a president with this much going in his favor since George Bush Jr. We haven't seen it. Nothing is in the way. Everything is up for discussion. Roe v. Wade is up for discussion. Yes. Minimum wage is up for discussion.
Gay marriage.
Equal pay, gay marriage. Guns. We didn't even get into the guns.
Well, the only protection that remains there is that the Senate does not have a filibuster-proof majority. And so, in essence, Democrats are going to have to make the decision, if they're up for it, to basically play the exact same role that Republicans have played for the
last
past
8 years. Yeah, which
and
is stalling everybody out.
Yeah, they're going to have to be obstructionists. They're going to have to say, you know what? No, we're not going to appoint a Supreme Court justice. You did it to us.
So how much power do they hold in that regard?
Well, I mean, we're talking. They'll have 51 Republicans. Will have 51 people in the Senate. A filibuster-proof majority is 60. And so, a lot of times on a lot of votes, they'll be able to sieve off 9 Democrats, people from states like West Virginia or Florida. And so they'll be able to do that from time to time. But if Democrats hold strong, very few bills will be able to pass without that filibuster-proof majority. And so it's that's where we're going. But what that means and what that spells out is a government that does nothing. And that's
again,
and that's what we've had. But that's kind of still
until
where we
Obama
are.
was wrapping things up the last couple of years.
The few little things that he could do by executive order, which frightens me because that's going to be, in essence, what we have with Donald Trump, that he and his team will find creative ways to issue executive orders that go around Congress. And in essence, President Obama has created the blueprint for how Donald Trump will have to govern during these times.
Yeah. Man, listen. Natasha and the BX. Natasha.
Hey, how you guys doing today? Good morning.
You want to have a complexion conversation this morning?
Yes, I do. I feel that a lot. I think that you guys aren't touching on the rampant racism that runs deep in Hispanic culture as well. And I think that's why a lot of Hispanic men voted for Trump. You know, to better the race, la raza. And people, they take that deep. Look at, DR, people that come here from there. They have these videos online of these children saying, which baby is good. And they have a black baby and they have a white baby. And they say the white baby's better because it's white.
Well, white supremacy, that's a Jane Elliott video you're referencing, and it's a study. Yeah. It's a study that's been going on for decades. But yes, what you're saying is correct. And we have on this show talked about the issue of white supremacy and the conditioning of our country and the world and the fact that there is a war against black and brown skin, right? And the fact that complexion and that appearance all over the globe is made to appear less than. And that's been happening for centuries. And so I think...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Natasha. What were we going to say?
No, I just think it's really sad, though, because it's just like, people come to a country where they feel that they can better themselves. And I'm not saying, illegal immigrancy, obviously, it's a problem. But I feel that, there are jobs here that Americans don't want to do, that immigrants gladly do.
Natasha, let me take you a step further. This is what's really happening. Our public school system does not prepare our children for the jobs that are available right now. Our public school system is decades behind. So the real reason we can't get the jobs that we need is because our public school system, where we're putting our children, is not preparing them for the jobs that are available. There are a lot of jobs available. People aren't trained to take them. Mm-hmm. So, and we can even get into talking about the Rust Belt last night, which is down there, Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania and all those things that went towards Trump, thinking that they're going to have their coal and steel and those jobs saved because Trump's in office.
Yeah,
and some of that may happen, but we're not preparing our children for the jobs that are available tomorrow. It's not about the immigrants. It's the fact that our public school system doesn't prepare people.
But we still have to address the reality that net immigration in this country is zero. And we hear this theme over and over in the calls that people keep talking about immigrants, in part because that's what Trump has talked about. But we don't have an immigration problem in this country. We're basically at a break-even rate between the number of immigrants who come in and the number who are deported for the first time in any presidency.
Obama has, what is it? Obama has, what am I trying to say? Obama has sent home, if you will.
He's been harsh.
Deported more people than any president ever.
And so the net total of immigrants in America, new immigrants in America, is at zero or even a slight decline, including people who have just opted to go back to their country of origin. So this myth that we are being overtaken by immigrants it's not a myth, it's a lie, it's a fabrication. And President Obama, in part, to protect immigrants who were here, has taken a stand that's been puzzling, but this thing that people keep blaming immigrants for their jobs and all of that's
been happening
real.
forever. That is a thing that happens in this country, blaming immigrants for jobs that y'all are too lazy to take. That has been happening since the dawn of time. Believing the downfall of this country is welfare mothers. It is all a myth, not the billions being wasted in arms. They think our country is being sucked dry by women who have 15 kids and want to suck the system dry. It is a total myth. It's like Reggie Jackson in the elevator. It's like razor blades and apples. It is not real. This is just something people say. What is real is Hillary Clinton will be speaking, finally, at 9:30 this morning. I don't know of a time I've ever heard of someone not coming out and conceding at night on television. Now, granted, she didn't call Trump to concede till 2:36 a.m. last night. But those people that were waiting for her in the Javits Center, it never happened. And I do want to take a moment to sort of send love to Hillary, because this is a sad end to the Hillary Clinton story, which was an amazing story when you think about it, from where she began, her humble beginnings, always wanting to be involved, no matter what people think of her and how corrupt she's become. This is a woman who dedicated her life to helping people a long, long time ago. And now for the second time, of course, the first time she at least lost to a very formidable President Obama, but now to lose to this hack. I don't know what does she do for the rest of her life? This is a depressing end to this story.
I think all of us, and like we've all had in this country, and my parents had, when you get kicked down like this country often does to women and black and brown people and people of color, you are reminded of your place. You are reminded that this isn't yours, and your forefathers did not develop this idea. These are not your ancestors. You're reminded of that frequently. You dust yourself off, and you keep working, and you keep trying to bring people together. And I think that's going to be her message. Her message is going to be for young women to not stop. Because I think whether you vote or you don't vote, Shawnee, we all believe.
You keep trying to call me out, bro.
Because you're on the show, because there's people like you, bro. That's it.
They're not exactly like me. My ideals are a little different. But
there are people like you listening. There are people who agree with you, yes.
Right, who do not
So
subscribe.
So whether that is, but I'm gonna tell you what we all subscribe to, because we evidently stay here. We subscribe to the possibilities,
Of course.
Of course.
right? So that's the part of it that when you wake up today, whatever you're going through, that's what we are doing.
Right.
That's all we got every day is the possibility.
Yes, I think the possibility is still there, and you have to do it every day now. You can't wait for somebody else to now be your leader. This is the reality now. This is the reality that I've been in for a very long time. You have to vote with your lifestyle every single day, and you have to make the changes that need to be done. It can't just be-
Pull up Man in the Mirror. I feel like that's where we're going right now. Pull
But
up
it's
Michael.
real.
Pull up White Mike. I want to go.
You want some white
I
Mike.
want some
White
white
Mike.
Mike. I feel like Man in the Mirror time. But I
When
will
Mike went white
time.
right before he got woke again.
right before it is before we got woke in. But for real, I'll tell you this too, and Shaun, I'm curious to ask you this because you are someone who's so critical of a lot of things about this country. I am nauseated, I am sickened, and I am not for 1 second thinking about moving to Canada. This is the place that I want to be, regardless of how disappointed I am. I do want to fight for this
condo
more.
just in case.
Well, no,
you know
maybe
what I
just for the
mean?
weekend.
A little investment property.
No, an
or
investment
something.
property, reasonable. But do you feel the same way? Is this still the only place that you would want to be?
Well, I mean, the reality of being an American citizen is that there really isn't anywhere to go. Porting yourself over, particularly if you're not an immigrant, if you didn't come from somewhere else. And for most of us, moving somewhere else and really setting up shop is a bit of a pipe dream. I get it, and it's something that we want just to protect our own minds. I don't mean to say that we're stuck here, but the truth and the fact of our citizenship really limits us to this country.
Let me tell you something about Shaun King. It's interesting. Shaun King gets it from black people and white people.
Of
Right?
course.
There was a period on social media where, because Shaun King was speaking out for on behalf of Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
wanting it, pushing it, promoting it, people pulled his card and was like, "You ain't black.
Yes. He's a light-skinned
Who's your
gentleman.
mom?
Right.
What's your?" And forced him to tell a heartbreaking story on social media about the reality of who he is. And then on the other side, Shaun King has white people coming at him all day, every day.
Oh my God! I mean, that doesn't stop.
Well, it doesn't stop. I mean, I guess in a sense you get
But
desensitized.
when I
to
say
it.
all that to
Yeah.
say that you still are optimistic. You still are up at 8 a.m. the day after the craziest election we've seen in our
Yeah.
lifetime, trying to have dialogue and sort through the emotions and where we're going to go.
Well, there's so much there, like I probably got last night up until this morning, maybe 300 or 400 emails from middle school students, high school students, young college students, particularly who are immigrants or Muslims, students of color, who are afraid, who are literally afraid about what this means for them, what it means for their family, what it means for their safety in their school and on their campus, particularly if they're in a predominantly white environment. And it's for them. Like I mean, I'm frustrated and I'm hurt. And there was a part of me, that literally, there was a part of me that thought, I'm gonna text those guys and tell them I can't come in, because, when I just think about myself, I almost don't want to talk about it. But it's for these young people, particularly all over the country, who are afraid and they're looking to us for answers. Mm-hmm. They're looking to us for dialogue. They're looking for some courage and inspiration. And so we're gonna be here. And we are going to have to fight back, and we're going to have to out-organize the forces that are against us a lot better than we've been doing. Like, I feel like we were out-hustled and outmatched in this, out-thought and out-strategized, and that's not going to work moving forward. I think in a lot of ways the Democratic establishment was exposed.
I want to be on your page with that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet.
In which regard?
I believe that this is 100% about promoting whiteness in America, and thus they had more passion.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we weren't out strategized, because we didn't get all of our people out.
There was no passion.
Right.
There was no passion.
But that's what he's talking about. That's Democratic establishment
that's what
missing,
he's
right?
saying, though.
That's a candidate. That's not coming with a candidate that was going to motivate people. And let's not forget, Shaun, I really do feel strongly about this. I do think the conservatives did a great job secretly spreading the black predator conversation enough to erode a piece of the black base in Hillary Clinton and made it seem like that was a big enough issue, not to downplay that it was a big thing when it was said in 1995, but I feel that they did a great job attacking what could have been the black base of Hillary Clinton.
There was that, and I speak on college campuses 2 or 3 times a week now, and college students did not get with her. They voted for Bernie by almost 90%. College students in America did, and only about half of them decided to port over to her. They just they didn't trust her, and I get it. And so, unlike us, they've never had a president that they didn't like. And so for them, you got to realize if you are, or like even my children, have only known President Obama. And so for a lot of young people, they've struggled to wrap their mind around having a president that didn't look like them, that didn't connect with them in a personal way. So a lot of young people voted their preferences. And we're old enough to know, like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for this guy, but I'm not excited. I'm not really into this, but because
or
of these,
like me, I'm an independent. I'm not voting for Donald Trump.
Right.
It's not happening.
Well, they weren't, but they didn't. That didn't motivate them enough. Like he said, I like that. They voted with preference. Like, well, I don't know if I'm feeling Hillary. It's like, no, guys, you don't get it. And maybe for me, and I'm not a senior citizen either. For me, it was 2000. For me, it was seeing the election stolen from Al Gore that let me, because I loved Al Gore. I really believed in him. And when I saw the election get stolen from Al Gore, I saw at that point the worst is possible. And with George Bush, listen, granted, George Bush Jr. now looks like a saint compared to Donald Trump. But at the time, he mismanaged foreign policy, domestic security. He did so many things wrong. He got into a war over false pretenses.
He's borderline a war criminal,
did
bro.
Terrible things.
He's a war criminal.
And at that point, I had thought, well, then I can't ever let this happen again. So we were motivated enough by the fear of Donald Trump. But you're right, a lot of them voted with preference. Like, well, I really like Bernie. I don't like Hillary enough. And I thought,
I love you guys.
why? Because we're being positive and
Because you guys are nice to young people.
Well,
I want to punch them all in the stomach.
Well, that's not realistic.
Say, wake the hell up.
Too many
and
people.
Slap them in the back of the head.
they just didn't have the perspective,
You can't
man.
take that approach. You cannot.
They didn't have the perspective. I think the main thing I heard on college campuses was this: Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the same person.
That was such a myth, man.
But it was widespread.
Yes.
And I heard it up until the past few days, and not just from college students, but from a lot of folk, including some woke folk and activists and others who say, hey, they are basically the same person, just in 2 different parties. And part of when I said we were out strategized, we just did not create a message that created the urgency that taught people the nuanced differences between who was who.
That, like I said, that's why I was disappointed yesterday. And I'm not going to start attacking all of our favorite artists, and we cannot blame hip hop, obviously, for this election. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I'm not disappointed that younger artists didn't try to do more state to state. I can't. Because Hov and Beyonce and Swizz and Alicia, like, there's a handful of older ones who really got it and stepped up. But I mean, there are a lot of people who were just like, I talked to their managers. They don't really want to be outspoken on politics. They're not really into it. They're not voting. They don't.
Well, I think that's what Shaun King's talking about. Is you got young people who ain't with it, and they didn't want to jeopardize their young fans. They didn't want to jeopardize getting to a back and forth with their young fans, which once again is why I laugh. Because congratulations, you played yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
You played yourself, and I know. Oh, wait and see. We'll see what happens. When you're electing the president of the United States, it's about setting a tone.
Sure.
That tone's been set, all right.
You see what I'm saying? Because the president doesn't get down in local politics. The president is not down in your city. The president isn't even down in your state. The president sets the tone for the country, front-facing to the world, and how people should come together for progress in the country, what decisions are going to be made. That is what you're doing with the president.
Yeah, but the thing is, hip-hop did not lose this election.
No.
It didn't help.
College students, yeah, but if you look at the voting numbers, black folk showed up in a major way like black folk always do. Hip-hop didn't lose. If hip-hop lost it, they lost in the sense that they did not somehow motivate more white folk to vote.
Yes.
But it was white folk who voted this man into office. It was only white folk who voted him by. I mean, the only majority, the only plurality of any demographic that he got was with white folk. He didn't win the majority of
white
Latinos.
men was unanimous, damn near. It felt like it was unanimous. I mean, on paper, it seemed unanimous.
And so, we're quick to criticize the folk that we know, but by and large, our folks showed up. Your audience, by and large, showed up. And what I'm saying is, it was white folk who put this man into office. And I don't know what else hip-hop could have done. I mean, we could imagine that they could have been more active behind her, but that's a rough shift. Like, Hillary Clinton was so disconnected that I don't even think most young artists understood how they could relate to her in any meaningful way.
But I talked to them.
You know?
But Shaun, I talked to the artists and management. They just, some of them were smart enough to get it and understand how dangerous Trump was. But from a brand standpoint, they just did not want to stand next to Hillary. And I do think that was, no, you're right. I don't blame hip hop, obviously. But this is, it's our people. So I can't look at other, I knew the racist white men were going to go vote for Trump. All I can think about is what could we have done more? But you're right. In no way do I blame us as a culture.
But if you look at the numbers, it wasn't even that close.
I don't blame us, but for me, I look in the mirror. I look in the mirror. And the things that we could control.
Again, cue up man in the mirror, white Mike. Can I just say one other thing?
But I'm just saying, you have people like Killer Mike out there being like, I'm not doing it. Right? You know what I mean?
Killer Mike made a mistake. I've been saying for a long time, I think Killer Mike made a big mistake. And by the way, those numbers, the Jill Stein numbers, the Gary Johnson numbers, those made an impact. A
lot of people say Gary Johnson's voters would have been Donald Trump voters. That people saw him as an alternative to Donald Trump. So if anything, what we're seeing is, had Gary Johnson not been in the race,
it could have been worse.
Maybe Trump would have had a larger margin. And Jill Stein struggled. I mean, she wasn't even on the ballot in some states. She got less than 1% in most places. So it's there. What I'm saying is, Killer Mike and other folk made a marginal difference. But
in the grand scheme, but once again, we're not understanding the game.
Yeah.
Right? We're looking short-sighted. We're not thinking generationally. We're not looking outwardly and going, wait a minute, we went from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. What's next? What's next?
I think so.
What is next? What is next?
I hate to sound clear. I do think something good is next. I don't think it's something bad. I think we will. Is there anyone out there, Shaun, that you can think of? Who is going to be the person that Bernie Sanders co-signs? Who is going to be that next person who is a better, more refined, liberal candidate who will motivate a young base like Bernie did in this campaign?
Well, you're thinking what's next in the big picture, like in terms of who we run. I think this has exposed the Democratic Party in a terrible way. I think the Democratic Party either has to completely clean shop, or even someone like Bernie needs to start something fresh from scratch. But I'm a hopeless optimist, and I'm always looking into the future and thinking, how can we make things better? But I'm not feeling good about what's next, not at all. I mean, I think we're in not only for a tough 4 years, but I think it's going to get rough and ugly right away.
I know. I think we will see that.
Yeah.
And shout out to all the families tweeting us and calling us who are waking up with young girls and young people today. I've seen, not lying, 50 different comments about young girls. I mean, my lady woke up crying today, just in tears.
It's terrifying.
Mine as well.
It's terrifying.
It is weird. I mean, it is.
And we're talking about politics and the numbers and the splits. But once again, I go back to us not understanding about tone. We don't understand the importance of tone. And the fact that the president, the highest elected executive in the land, is about setting a tone. A tone has been set in this country.
Of what people think of women, first and foremost.
Yeah, no matter how qualified
Absolutely.
you are, this is what happens.
I don't care what you've done as a white male. You can still be whatever you want.
That's what this says.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as a father with 4 daughters, even one of my daughters was so...
You have a son also, right, son?
Yeah, a young son. One of my daughters couldn't even bring herself to go to school this morning.
You got to get up, guys. We got to get up. We got to stand in there. We got to stand in there. And I say this in this room all the time. When it's time to take an L, you stand there, you take that L, so you remember what it feels like.
And speaking of which, Ebro, when it comes to taking that L, I saw a lot of people who I follow writing things like, He's not my president. I won't call him President Trump. Guys, please don't respond the way they would respond to us.
I want to, though.
Don't do that. We got to sit here and hold this L if that's the L we're taking. And not only that, don't be in denial about what our country is. Right. It's what our country is, guys. Get used to the words President Trump. I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet.
I know you're not.
There yet.
No, well, don't worry. You got 2 months. We got till January 20th to have to say it. You can call him President-elect now.
Say it again.
President Trump. That's what it's going to be.
Yo, a casino owner is our president.
No. Well,
DJT.
a failed casino owner.
DJT.
Failed casino owner, by the way, because Trump's a rap in Atlantic City.
They still have one in Vegas.
Vegas is, I mean, it's dead. No one. Who do you know? When was the last time Camilo DJ'd at Trump Plaza in Vegas?
Staying there.
But my point is this: I refuse to do what Republicans did to Obama.
Say it one more time.
That whole talk. I mean, Ebro, don't try to make me feel crappy about it. But I'm just saying I'm not going to go along with that. I'm not saying I'm going to be praising his name, but I will not become disrespectful of the country because that's what they would do. So I just think people should be mindful about saying like, oh, this isn't ours. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
This is what our country is. Own it, wallow in it, and do better for it next time. But don't sit here and say it's not what it is. It is what it is.